Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Well guys, I'm back to working on my surface grinder today, and actually got some help here in the shop today. Wave at them. Hey. Yeah, so got Dave Watts. Yeah, he's down here helping me today. He's just in the area and stopped by, does some steam locomotive repair work, so you'll probably be seeing him around a little bit in the videos today as well. But we're going to be working on the big surface grinder here. I had mentioned in a video I did recently where we worked on the motor that I have an issue going on with my automatic feed on this machine where it quit working the other week, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I think there's probably something in here in the gearbox where we've got a broken pin or a broken key or something like that. That's what I'm thinking, but I really just don't know, and I'm not going to know until I get in here. So task for the day is we're going to be pulling out this whole gearbox on the front of the machine that goes through the machine that basically powers the power feed. Now I'd taken this piece over here, this is where I engage it, and there's some linkage that goes into this box. I was hoping the problem was here because this is a pretty easy fix. Everything there appears to be working correctly. The linkage is going into the box, so there's something going on with this gearbox. So I'm fortunate I got the book on this, so I know the process on how to get it out, or at least I've got instructions. So what we've got to do is we've got to start off going to the back of the machine. We've got to pull the pulley off that drives this thing, and then we've got to disconnect the linkage between these two pieces here, undo the 4 bolts, and this whole gear cartridge comes out, and then we can take that over to the bench and start looking on there and figure out what we got to do. Hopefully we're not going to have to dig too deeply into the gearbox, but I just don't know until we get in there. So that's the game plan. That's what we're going to be working on. Hopefully we can get this machine fixed and back up to working, because I got some grinding I need to do. And while I can do it manually right now, this automatic feed is really nice, so we need to get it back up and going. Let's go around the back side. We're going to get that pulley pulled off, and we'll go from there. So I got you where you can kind of peek in back here on the back of the machine. Just like when we were working on the motor, there's just not a lot of room back here to work. You can see it's just a little access hole here. But fortunately, this is the gear we're dealing with right here, our pulley we're dealing with. And I've already got the belts off of it. So there's a flat belt that kind of goes around this thing and powers it and turns this, and that's what's feeding the power feed. And there's also a V-belt that goes from here down to a pump, an oil pump in the bottom that continuously pumps oil through here. So I've already got the belts off, and you're not going to be able to watch me do this because there's just not enough room. There's a set screw right here. We're going to take that set screw out, and hopefully this gear, or pulley rather, should just come right off the back. So anyway, we'll bring you back here in a minute. So hopefully you can see there, we've got the pulley off now. It wasn't too bad. We pulled the pulley out, and then also had to take, there was a little piece that bolted up on the 3 little holes in the casting that is a counterweight that tensions that belt, so it kind of hangs on that boss right there. So we took that out as well. I think we're ready to get around to the front and start working up there now. So here are the parts we pulled out. Again, this is just an idler, or it's a counterweight and an idler. It fits in there, and basically this weight is cantilevered on here in a way that it tensions that belt that drives that. And then of course there's your pulley. There was just one set screw in there holding it on there. So anyway, that's all off now. All right, so the next thing according to the instructions is we need to take my little control pad off here. So this is basically the mechanism that engages it and disengages it. I've had this off before. There's just 4 Allen screws on here, cap screws, and we'll pull those off, and this piece basically just comes right out. And we need to get this out so that we can access the behind it to disconnect the linkage that goes over into the gearbox we've got to take out. So go ahead and pull these out. All right. So it's going to be kind of hard to tell what's going on here, but where we took the stop-start unit out, there's this little yoke in here which is connected to a reversing rod up here. So depending on, this machine is manually done, so it hits a trip, and basically when it gets to the end of the cycle, it flips it the other way. And this is just left and right on your table. That's what goes back and forth. And that, again, is mechanically actuated by the movement of the table and on stops up on the table. Now, the on-off switch that we have in here basically just has kind of a spade-looking piece in here, so that when it's in the off mode, it comes in here and takes this up so that this piece cannot move, and it kind of puts it into a middle position in between, which is a neutral. And then whenever you pull that handle up, that little spade piece goes boom like this right here. Now you've got room for this thing to actuate back and forth. So that's basically what we took off here and how it works. Now what we've got to do is there's a linkage that goes between this reversing mechanism into the gear case. And it's just unscrew a little screw and slide a little piece off, and we should be able to disconnect that. And then we can pull our piece out. At least I think we can. We'll look at the instructions. So you're not going to be able to see me do this because it's just too tight, but I'm going to get up in here and take that connecting link out. Now, to get the linkage disconnected, there's a little brass plate here on the front that conveniently spins up out of the way. If you look, there's a little screw right here. So I'm going to loosen this up. And when I do, I should be able to reach on the inside now and this piece slide out of the way where it'll come out of there. And I'm going to have to get over here with a flashlight and see what I'm doing, but that's basically what we're doing. We're just disconnecting that linkage. Ready to pull the gear cartridge out here now. So there are 4 cap head Allen screws. Actually, there's only 3, one's missing down here. I'll replace that when I put it back in. And let's go ahead and get these out. Got my engine hoist set up behind me and some slings down here. So once I get this loose, we'll start sliding it out. I'll put a sling on it and continue sliding it out, but we'll have the engine hoist here to hopefully take most of the weight for us, because I imagine this piece is pretty heavy. I don't know how heavy, but it's probably more than I want to handle. Now, thing should there. No, it's fine. Oh, it's in the gearbox. This gearbox is full of oil, so it's leaking oil over here on my floor, but that's all right. Yeah, we can clean that up later. Yeah, go ahead and bring it on up. Yeah, keep on coming. A little bit more.
It's up tight.
Is it? Okay, let it down then. Yeah, it's up too high. All right, bring it back up. That's right there. Just moving the sling back in the back so that we can hopefully balance this thing. All right, you bring me up just a tad. All right, hang on. All right, bring it down just ever so slightly. All right, hang on. Yeah, now I'm really dripping oil everywhere. That one's fine. I'm going to leave it on this end. I'm just trying to make sure I got it. All right. All right. All right. Bring up just a tad. Okay. Come on out with it. All right. Yeah, we didn't want to pick that up by hand. Let's go over here to the table.
Okay.
You have to come around, swing around sideways, okay? Right there, set her down. All right. So here's the whole gear case that comes out of here. Now back here, this is the input, so this is the shaft that should be turning anytime the machine is on. The pulley's on there, and looking at the parts diagram, it's driving a big gear in here. And when you engage the auto feed, it basically engages all this gear stuff in here to make this gear right here go back and forth. Right now I got the handle in manual mode, so you see what's happening. And somewhere between this gear and this gear, when we engage it, it's not doing it. Now this is that little shifting rod right here that we had in there. This is that does the forward and reverse. And I may be wrong, but it just doesn't feel like to me that that's engaging anything, but I don't know. There's some covers on here that we should be able to take off and see what's going on down inside. I'm gonna get some cleaner first, I think, and try to clean this up a little bit, and we'll start tearing into it and see if we can figure out what's happening. See if we can get these covers off. We just got some regular flathead screws in here, and I'm just gonna zip them out with this impact driver. I figured coming out it ain't gonna hurt anything. I'll probably put them in by hand, so I don't want to torque them too much. All right. So I'll go ahead and do this one up here too while we're at it. That one's in there a little bit tighter. Got a gasket in there, or some, oh, it's full of oil. Can't see nothing. All right. Yeah, they just used some Permatex to make a gasket. That's what they did. That screwdriver too, we had a minute ago. Here it is. Oh, I do see the problem. There's another screw right here. That'll do it.
Yeah, it will.
All right, there we go. Well, guys, I'll let you take a peek in here. I don't know that we've got a real good answer as to what was going on, but I've got a theory. And actually, Dave here, who is actually a mechanical engineer at times and used to design boat transmissions, he's been a lot of help in figuring this thing out for me. But what you're looking at, of course, you see the pulley turning here. And when it comes in, first off, right here, there's a transmission to go from a high speed to a low speed, and it basically works when I push on and pull on this rod. It will, flip this little yoke back and forth, and it will either engage into one gear or the other. And when you do that, that basically speeds up and slows down the speed of your travel on the grinder. And I think what was going on was we had this thing where it was kind of in between those 2 points, and it was basically in neutral mode. And I played around with that, but I think that it was just in a position where it wouldn't go, but it is going now. At least that's my theory. So from that, it's basically turning this gear here, which in turn is you got a reversing mechanism in here where these 2 gears are spinning in opposite directions from one another. Here's the linkage that goes out to the piece I was showing you before. When it's in neutral, you got this little dog clutch in here, and neither one of them are engaging. So whenever I come over here and I pull this over, now this is going to engage in there. It's turning a rod down here. Now there's a shock absorber mechanism in here that's designed so that when the tables are at the extreme, it doesn't just immediately boom, boom. So there's a little bit of delay, but you'll see this gear down here turn. This is what's actually powering the power feed. Okay, I'm going to flip my gear the other direction. And when I do, notice this is just free spinning right now. And he's got to turn it a few revolutions. This is the way it's designed. That's that shock absorber in there. And then all of a sudden now it's going to start going the other direction. Of course, he's not turning it near at the speed it's going to be turning in the machine. So it's taking a long time to engage. But as fast as that pulley's turning, it's going to actually change directions very quickly in operations. And I'll just move it back the other way. So the good news is everything appears to be working okay. I can even see that my oil pump is pumping oil up into this reservoir. You can see the oil coming out right there. And then it gets to a certain height and it just spills back down into the bottom. But all this appears to be working correctly. So we're going to put it back together. And again, I think we had a little bit of something down here and we wiggled it around and it's working now. I can't explain it. Don't know exactly what's going on. Now, while we're in here, we did find a couple of other little issues that I'm going to show you here. So let me stop the camera and I'll show you that. So that again, we're over here on the pulley side of this thing where this pulley is. And when we were messing with this pulley has some wobble in it. So basically the bore inside this pulley has become worn. And if you watch it when it's spinning, you see it wobbling. You know, with this being a flat belt machine, that's probably not causing any kind of major problem, but at the same time, it's not right. So I think I'm going to address that. We got it apart, might as well take care of it. And what I think we're going to do is I'm going to bore the hub. I'm going to set this up on the lathe. We'll get it running true both on the face here to make sure it's not wobbling, as well as on the outside to make sure it's running true. I'll take a boring bar. I'm going to bore this hub completely out, oversized. We'll make a steel bushing press fitted in here, and we'll probably put a Scotchman's key in there so it doesn't spin. Then I'll bore that out to size and re-broach it. So that's going to be the game plan. I'm going to probably do that in a separate video. That's going to be a job on its own. And the other thing we ran into is that over here on this counterweight, it basically fits up on this shaft, and there are two seals inside of that, and these seals are they're totally shot. I mean, they're dried up, they're totally gone. So I need to run by my bearing house and see if we can find a suitable replacement for these and put those on there before we put it all back together. And you can't see it, but there's also a little V-belt pulley down on the oil pump in the bottom, and it's got the same issue on the pulley as this other one does. And I'm going to have to get that one out, and we're probably going to have to do something to address that pulley as well. It's even in worse shape than this one. So anyway, that little bit of work to do. But hopefully we have solved the problem. I won't really know for sure until we get all this put back together. But I'm at least confident that as long as this shaft is turning, the mechanism is working the way it should. So there's really no reason why this shouldn't work when we put it back together. All right, guys, so Dave and I have been sitting here studying this thing, and I think that I've got a better idea of what's actually happened here. So we were sitting here talking, and you know, this pulley's got some wobble in it. Question is, how did that wobble get in the pulley? If this thing is keyed on here and it is firmly in place, you should never have wear in there because there's no moving parts in between there. We got to looking at the pulley, and there's a set screw on here that goes down through here to tighten it up, but the keyway is 180 degrees from the set screw. Now the keyway should be coming right on top of that set screw so that it locks in place. I think what's happened, we also noticed this key that was in here is kind of chowdered up a little bit. I think that over time this key came out, and this pulley was free spinning on this shaft. And while it's free spinning on that shaft, what's it doing? It's wearing it down. And to further confirm this, I come in here, and this is right here is where the seals aren't touching. I mean, it's a 750 thousandths in diameter, okay? You come down here where the pulley's at, and we're about, what, 748? We come out a little bit farther, about 745. Come out here to the end, for about 741. So there's what, about 6 thousandths taper in this. That should not be the case. There's also a taper in the bore on the pulley. So I think this is what's going on here. I think this is the whole problem. So now the question is, we know what the problem is. We've got to get this shaft running true. We've got to get our pulley running true. How are we going to do that? Well, you know, I could take the gearbox apart, we could take this shaft out, go over on the lathe, turn it down, whatever, and do that. And since I'm going to be making a bushing on the pulley, it really doesn't matter what diameter this is as long as it's the same. I can make my pulley match the new bore size. Not a problem there. The problem is how are we going to machine this? So I don't want to take this whole thing apart. And Dave was talking about on locomotives a lot of times. He does locomotive repair work. That you have to do the machining in place. And okay, well that's a good idea. How do we do that? So we were saying it would be nice if we could just put a tool post grinder on this thing. But to do that, you got to be in the lathe, right? Well, not necessarily. So here's the game plan, and I think this is brilliant. So we're going to take this whole case over here, and I'm going to get it mounted up on the table on my horizontal mill machine. Get it running true. I've got a machine surface on the top and on the back here that I can indicate off of that should be able to get it running in the right directions. I can't really indicate off the shaft because it's such a short piece, and it's not true anyway. But I got some original surfaces in here that I can indicate off and get this thing lined up exactly right. We then mount a tool post grinder on the overarms on the milling machine where I can grind down here on this. Got to turn the part. Right? No problem. I can come in here and manually, here we go. I can manually turn the handle down here, and while I'm doing that, that's turning that shaft on the other side. So this is going to be a crazy setup, but it's going to be a very interesting way to get the job done. And I want to thank Dave over here because he's been helping me think through this and come up with some good ideas on how we can do this. So this is definitely going to be another video down the road. Not going to have time to even start on that today, but I just want to kind of give you a preview of where we're going with this. So I think we got the problem figured out. It's just going to take some creative machine shop work to be able to get her going again. So while I'm at it, I went ahead and pulled out this oil pump. This is a Bajor oil pump down here that basically just pumps oil throughout the machine. There's pipes and stuff going all over the place to lubricate different places on there. And it's driven from a belt that comes from that same pulley that we have the other issue with. And look at here. We got same type issue going on here. So anyway, this pulley I'm going to have to do some work to as well. And I don't know, we'll see what we can do. You know, I can always board out and bush it like we're going to do the other one. I may even just look at McMaster-Carr and see if I can find a replacement pulley that, you know, if it's cheap, I might just do that rather than trying to fix this one. We'll see, but it's definitely fixable if need be. So anyway, another problem to deal with. There you go, guys. That's going to be a wrap for this one. We were at least partially successful today. I was successful at least in determining the cause of the problem. I'm convinced it has to do with that pulley over there. I think we had lost that key. The pulley was spinning on the shaft, which was basically not allowing the automatic feed to work. We've got some issues we got to deal with over there, fixing that shaft, getting it turned down true, as well as putting new sleeves in both of those pulleys over there. But I think once we do that, we're going to get this thing back together and we should be operational. Good news is inside the gearbox, everything looks like it's in good shape. Don't see any issues in there at all. All the gears look good, all the cogs look good. No signs of any kind of excessive wear or abuse, which is very positive. It's just a matter of getting these pulleys worked out. Kind of really wondering what's going on because, you know, we had a pulley problem on the motor pulley. We had a pulley problem up here. And again, I have not really done anything to this machine other than bring it home and start using it. So I'm not really sure why we're having all these pulley problems. But the good news is that I think we can fix them, no big deal. So with that, that's gonna be a wrap. Thank you guys for watching. We're gonna be doing more work on this one down the road. Probably gonna need to do it pretty soon because again, I'm needing this machine. So we're gonna have some pretty interesting stuff coming up here, hopefully before too terribly long. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.